Hey, Omnidogs and Omnikittens. Omnidog here with an overview of one of my favorite comic book series growing up ever, the Silver Age Legion of Superheroes. And this is Omnibus Volume 1, which just came out. And you can see it's a nice, colorful cover. And this is Volume 1. Let's take a look at the spine and the back. We got it right here. And this collects the series up until about 1964. Let's see what the table of contents says. It starts in 1958 and goes through 1965, January of 1965. And it's a very good table of contents. The Legion of Superheroes appeared in adventure comics primarily, but made appearances in action comics, Superboy, Action, Superman, Superboy. Another appearance in action comics, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, and we'll take a look at all of this as we're going through it. Primarily adventure comics, and we see that sadly, just black. Nothing colorful about it at all. Yeah, I know that's a disappointment. But let's read what it says here as a description of it. Even by comic book standards of the late 1950s, there was nothing especially unusual about superhero teams. With precedents dating back to the dawn of the golden age of comics, popular heroes had been gathering together in umbrella titles to fight crime, injustice, and threats to humanity. But the Legion of Superheroes was different. They were created for an appearance in a Superboy story in Adventure Comics as a team. What was slated to be a one-time appearance in the first of two stories in that issue exploded into comics history, with reader response so overwhelmingly favorable that the teenage superhero team was brought back for repeat appearances in Adventure Comics, Action Comics, Superman, and Superboy until little more than 4 years after their debut, the young heroes of the 30th century received their own continuing series. And of course, here's a picture of my favorite, Bouncing Boy. Because there's nothing I want as a superpower more than to blimp up and be a balloon and bounce around. Yes, these are Silver Age stories, as you can imagine, but boy, are they close to my heart. Because this is what I grew up with. And these are the characters that I really loved. There was just something special about these characters, so innocent yet so fun and so dynamic. And they weren't afraid to kill some of these characters off, quite frankly. You'd get to like a character, and shockingly, they would actually kill some characters, and they would stay dead. So here we are at the table of contents. And it's a good table of contents. You've even got Jerry Siegel writing a lot of the issues, famous for creating Superman. And the artist is primarily John Forte, with a little bit of Kurt Swan mixed in. Inker, sometimes Al Plastino. The very first issue was written by Otto Binder, famous DC writer, and the artist was Al Plastino. So let's take a look at the famous first cover. Here it is. I'm sorry, Superboy, but we cannot admit you into our superhero club. Your low score on the tests we gave you proves your powers are too ordinary. This is a classic cover, and this is very nice glossy paper. And this is the beginning. You can recognize the art as Al Plastino did a lot of Superman comics back in the day. And this is how they introduced themselves to Superboy. They're from the 30th century, and they travel back in time to introduce themselves to Superboy. And it is a little wordy. It is a little exposition heavy, but as it went on, it got better. Especially in the mid-60s, it got really, really interesting to me as a kid, because The stories got less wordier and a little more action oriented. But let's take a look at some of these. So there's an appearance by Luther. What was the cover of this one? Superman, featuring the Legion of Supervillains. Let's take a look at that. We've got some good art here. This looks like Kurt Swan. And as you can see, pretty good with the gutter. It's got pretty darn good binding here. Let's get back to that Luther tale with this nice Kurt Swan art. You've got Cosmic King, Lightning Lord, and Saturn Queen in their first appearance. And Superboy was teaming up with them a lot of times. Sometimes it would just be them. Ooh, goody, Super Pets. So we can take a look at the fabulous Super Pet Krypto, of course, the greatest dog in superhero comics, maybe ever. Here's a Supergirl appearance with Jim Mooney art. This must be Adventure also. Oh, Action Comics, Superman Super Courtship. Wait a minute, what's that got to do? Well, I must have something to do. There's Supergirl, so she must have something to do. Oh yeah, I remember that. This does involve the Legion of Superheroes. And there, let's see if we can get a picture of what their clubhouse was. That was always a funny thing. Their clubhouse was like an unexploded rocket ship that was like, let's see. Well, we may come upon it. But it was kind of a funny looking. Yeah, it was a funny looking thing. You can see right here it's just a cylinder. And it's a cylinder with like a little just top on it. So it was not a very impressive superhero club. But that's what they called it, their super club. There's a good picture of it right there. Superhero Clubhouse. So these stories were a lot of fun. Here we go. The secret origin of Bouncing Boy. There's nobody I want to take into a battle more than a bouncing boy. And this would be an audition issue where they would audition into try and get into the Legion of Superheroes. But I always liked Bouncing Boy because he was such an oddball. It would just be funny. It's funny to me that he was just a superhero, and even as a kid, I dug him. But lots of nice covers in this book. A lot of nice glossy paper. If you know anything about the Legion of Superheroes, you know that Lightning Lad ends up croaking early. Here's Lightning Lad, so he hasn't died yet. I'm not spoiling anything. Everybody knows that he dies. Triplicate Girl, Saturn Girl. So Saturn Girl, Cosmic Boy, and Lightning Lad were the leaders. So it was kind of a crushing blow when they lost Lightning Lad. There's Night Girl. So this was a really good way for DC editors and writers to come up with some of the craziest powered superheroes you could find. There was Colossal Boy, Matter Eater Lad. You know, he could eat anything. This guy became Element Lad. He could turn things into different substances. Chameleon Boy, a lot of boys. Cosmic Boy, Chameleon Boy, Colossal Boy, Triplicate Girl. And there's Brainiac 5. So this is just a quick overview of some of the most fun. Here they're trying to raise Lightning Lad from the dead. Were just really fun. I just really had a blast. Here's Jimmy Olsen appearing. The World of Doomed Olsens. If you know anything about Jimmy Olsen, he used to turn into nutty characters all the time. So he's a natural for the Legion of Superheroes. But these stories were just really fun, light, action-packed, and you always had some kind of intrigue going on. It was always interesting to me, the various characters they came up with. It was a license to make up wacky characters and somehow make it work. These aren't the strongest stories in my opinion. They're a lot of fun. What is this? I forget this one. Moloch the Merciless. It looks like Bouncing Boy. What's going on? The strongest stories to me were in the mid-60s, when you had a character like Pharaoh Lad sacrifice himself because of the Sun Eater. But these are good, fun, solid Silver Age stories. If you're a fan of Silver Age material, you can't do better than some of these stories. These are just solid Silver Age, fun, lighthearted, goofball stories, but I really took them seriously as a kid. They meant a lot to me. And, for 12 cents, I had a blast. So hopefully you'll pick this up and you'll have a blast. Let's see, are there any extras? Usually not in DC Omnis. No, there's really not. It's got some biographies on the creators. But this is a good book, and I'm going to start reading it right away. And I'm really happy that it says Volume 1, because Volume 2 is where the action really is going to get good. So there you go. There's a little overview of the Legion of Superheroes Silver Age. I encourage you to pick this book up if you have any interest in the Silver Age. And thanks for watching very much. Omnidog's Vault. This is Omnidog signing out. Thanks for watching.